What's up guys, this is Ben from Life in 360 and welcome to episode 3 of Vlog in 360. And this episode I'm going to put together all of the 360 cameras I own and see how they perform in low light. I'm at Sydney's Vivid Light Festival right now, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to try them out and see how they handle nighttime. So I'm going to do my best to make sure the lighting is as even as possible when I put these 7 major 360 cameras to the test. So I'm filming this on the Samsung Gear 360 2016. I'll also have the 2017 camera, I'll have the Theta S, the Insta360 Nano, Insta360 Air, LG 360 cam, and finally, last but not least, the GelMe Mi Sphere. So come on along and let's see which one does best in low light.
Okay, starting with the Gear 360 2016. And something I've learned from using this camera is that if the area you're shooting in is reasonably well lit, you're going to get a damn good and sharp video quality. This is one of the better daytime 360 cameras, so if you can keep your lighting pretty good at nighttime, you're going to get an equally good result. Perhaps the biggest issue I've experienced during the day is the bad lens flares it gets, and nighttime is no different, unfortunately. Whenever you go near a strong light source like any of these lamps, you're going to experience a strong lens flare and waves across the lenses. This is because the lens is protruding and it's much more likely to get a flare if you come close to a light source. It's very annoying, so avoid strong light sources if you can. Look, this footage is passable. If you look on the left hand side, it actually looks very decent. The right looks horrible, so really you just need to prepare for failure if you're shooting at nighttime with this camera. Do check the live preview beforehand to avoid complete and utter disaster. Next is a camera that we've all forgotten about, and that's the LG 360 cam. And looking at this footage, I was very surprised. This looks quite decent. The colors are looking nice, and the resolution is looking pretty darn sharp around about where my lady friend and I are standing. The reason I don't use this camera anymore is because of the horrible seam line and bad stitching that they never fixed, and that's on show right here. You can still see part of the camera near where my hand is, and all along that seam line it's just really obvious that these are 2 spheres being stitched together. That's unavoidable. You see it during the day, you see it at nighttime as well. Still though, it's got to be said that a $120 camera with an f1.8 aperture that is seeing me really clearly in this low light, this is performing very, very decently. So I wouldn't completely rule it out. For that price point, this is actually incredible and way over delivers. The bad news is though, I just went to LG's website and it looks like the camera is discontinued. There's still like 20 of them on Amazon, put a link in the description, but you're not going to be seeing much of this camera in the future, unfortunately.
Welcome to the Harbour Bridge.
Here we have the newest of all the cameras, and that's the GelMe Mi Sphere. And I think I'm getting somewhat closer to pronouncing that correctly and not sound like I'm ordering a spicy cabbage dish. This camera boasts an f2 aperture and 3.5K video resolution, both very decent. Looking at the shadows and highlights, this camera is performing really well. That black is looking really black and the highlights aren't too overblown. Here you'll notice that you don't get the extreme grain that you got with the last 2 cameras. That's a big thumbs up from me. In this walking shot, you'll see that it handles strong light sources really well. It's not destroying the whole image like it did with the Gear 360. Yes, the lights do draw attention to themselves, but it doesn't detract from the areas around the lights. Here I'm standing in basically pitch black in the middle of some weird ass light show, and the highlights are looking excellent. It is so sharp everywhere. It's not out of focus and it's not blowing out anywhere. I've got to say the GelMe is shaping up to be the perfect package for a 360 camera, so definitely stay tuned for my full review coming out in the next week or 2.
Something I'll point out is, yes, you are seeing me in Tiny Planet form right now. However, a Tiny Planet is essentially a manipulation of a 360 video, so you're seeing the full field of view. Yes, I could play it as a normal 360 video, but that doesn't look as good, does it? So you are seeing more or less everything you're going to see in a 360 video in what you're seeing right now. So don't be deterred by that. we get to see the shadows and the highlights, and that's the most important thing.
Next, we have the camera on everybody's minds, and that's the Gear 360 2017. If you saw my comparison of the two Gear 360s, you'll see that this camera is weak in low light, and you'll also see that right in front of you, right here, right now. When I color grade this footage, yes, it is brighter and more visible. However, the colors aren't very nice. It's kind of washed out and green, and look at all that grain. It's looking pretty horrible, isn't it? Especially around the lights, but also the seam line, there's that red discoloration. Like, what the hell is up with that? This is turning my footage into the Tiny Planet equivalent of The Shining. Red rum, red rum. In all seriousness, you guys know this is an awesome camera during the day, but nighttime it's shithouse, so keep it in your pocket unless absolutely necessary.
From my experience so far, no camera has really stood out head and shoulders above the others, just because 360 cameras aren't good in low light because the sensors aren't good enough. You can't get your ISO high enough. Their apertures aren't low enough. So you can't go any lower than about f1.8, and these are things that are crucial to getting good nighttime shots. So while you should go out shooting in low light, you should be careful not to go into places that are too dark. I'd say where I am now is more or less going to be the darkest that you want to shoot in for now. Look, in a year or so, that might change, probably will. But for now, you want street lights, you want a decent amount of lighting.
Next, we have the Insta360 cameras. We've got the Air on the left and the Nano on the right. At first, they look identical, don't they? It's as if one's for iPhone and one's for Android and that's it. Well, there are actually many differences, and they're as follows. Firstly, both cameras have 6-axis stabilization turned on. This is an amazing feature. However, you'll notice the Nano is much smoother than the Air in this example. Still, this probably isn't a deciding factor. The next thing that draws my attention is the seam line and the lens flare. Because the Insta360 Air is round, it has a much rounder lens than the Nano. This means that the lens flares are going to be bigger, and that seam line is going to be more obvious when you have one side of the camera that is brighter than the other in terms of ambient light. This is very obvious here. That seam line is very strong on the Air and much less noticeable on the Nano, unless I'm clowning around like I am here. You'll also notice that there's a big difference in the way they handle the big light behind us. The Nano handles it really nicely. The Air, it just blows out the entire top of the frame. Really, this tells me that the Nano is just usable in low light and the Air isn't really. Well, I guess it's break glass in case of emergency. Use it only if you must.
You are the world around me, the stars of grace, the songs of trust of me.
Something else I want to point out is that even though the highlights are retained nicely, as you can see on the Opera House there, the colors are not very impressive at all compared to how nice they look there in real life. Almost all other 360 cameras perform better. The Insta360 cameras unfortunately just have a flat look about them. I mean, yes, I am being picky and I do love Insta360, however I think the best is still yet to come in terms of low light with these guys. Finally, we have my old favorite, and that's the Theta S. And looking at this video here, I'm really impressed by what it can do in low light. Look, this is probably the lowest resolution camera of all of them, of all 7. Yet this image is looking exceptionally good. I always say it, resolution isn't the deciding factor, it's the look and the dynamic range, and this is performing excellently.
Proudly brought to you by Rico. Imagine more.
No, I'm just kidding guys, but seriously, look at it yourself. Tell me that doesn't look amazing. The Theta S is going to be replaced really soon by the upcoming Theta 4K. Who knows when that's coming, in the next few months I think. But I know this is going to be something that I will really be looking forward to in the new camera. In my personal opinion, the Theta S has the best dynamic range of any consumer 360 camera, and this applies to nighttime as well. It retains highlights really well, and it doesn't crush blacks. There is a faint hint of grain, but it's nothing too extreme. The dynamic range remains really good. So up to this point, I've used only video examples and no photos. Why is that? This is because only 2 of these 7 cameras are capable of doing a long exposure. A long exposure is necessary to capture low light photos. You need to go below 1/15 of a second to really end up with a photo you can see when there are really dark areas, if not see in the dark. And those 2 cameras are the Ricoh Theta S and the GelMe Mi Sphere. These are the only 2 cameras that can do exceptionally good in low light. With the others, the photos are more or less going to be the same as the video examples you just saw when shooting in low light. Here's my Instagram post from the night of this shoot, and it looks really good. I was super happy with it, and I shot it on the Theta S. It was a 1-second exposure, again, only because the Theta S can do that, and we stood really still while it took the photo, and the result was incredible. So the Theta S is an amazing low light 360 camera with both photo and video. I haven't found the time yet to play around with the GelMe doing super long exposures. However, here's a photo taken by Michael from 360rumors.com where he did a 32-second exposure with only the street light next to his property as a light, as well as a torch he used to do the light painting. It would have been pretty much pitch black here, so that is really impressive that it can do a 32-second exposure. The Theta S can run the shutter for 30 seconds, so these are more or less the same, and they do stand out head and shoulders above the others because they do have manual exposure and they allow you to see in the dark with your photos.
Alright, so I finished editing the video up to this point, and I think I have a clear winner. Well, 2 clear winners, and I think you guys probably know what I'm going to say. The Theta S and the GelMe Mi Sphere. Firstly, because they both look better in video mode, but also photo. You can do those long exposures, and that makes the world of difference, pun intended. So these are going to be your best low light cameras. Coming second is going to be the LG 360 cam, the Gear 360 2016, which I'm filming this on now, and the Insta360 Nano. These cameras are just passable. You can shoot decent low light video with these cameras. And coming in last place are the Insta360 Air and the Gear 360 2017. Only use these if you're crazy desperate. So I hope this was helpful to all you nighttime shooters out there. Look, I think there are heaps of other cameras coming out that are going to be equally as good as these 2 in low light in the near future, including the Theta 4K, so stay tuned for that. I can't wait for it. If you want to learn how to create awesome tiny plans like you've just seen in this video with any of these cameras, regardless of the camera you own, I wrote an ebook that will teach you everything, all of the cool shit you've seen in this video, I'll teach you how to do in my ebook. You can read it in half a day and it's going to make you a tiny planet master. I do just want to give you guys my apologies. I have been meaning to release the updated version of the ebook. I've expanded, updated it, added heaps of cool shit, but unfortunately there's been formatting issues with Lulu and the iBook store, and we're just working through them. We want to put videos in it and like all this other cool stuff. Unfortunately, it's getting rejected, but it should be up, fingers crossed, within the next fortnight, so I will definitely keep you guys posted as soon as that's ready. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube for more episodes of Vlogging 360. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter as well. Another piece of exciting news is I've just started a new Instagram account at LifeIn360Photo where I'm going to aim to share the very best tiny planets on Instagram. So hashtag your work LifeIn360 and I'll look through all the hashtags and I share the very best ones there. So definitely check that out. Alright guys, until next time, keep capturing your world in 360. This is your boy Ben Claremont coming at you from Sydney, Australia, planet Earth, the solar system, the universe. What's up the universe? Infinity. Ben Claremont coming at you from Infinity. Until next time, see you later. Bye.